Picture this. Two friends sitting at the same coffee shop, both scrolling through their phones, both dealing with the same gut-wrenching news. They've just been laid off from similar positions at competing companies. Same industry, same level of experience, same financial pressures waiting at home. But here's where their stories split into completely different universes. The first friend, let's call her Sarah, starts her spiral immediately. She's texting everyone she knows with panicked messages about how impossible the job market is. She's doom-scrolling LinkedIn at 2 a.m., seeing everyone else's success stories and feeling smaller with each post. Every job application feels like shouting into a void. She walks into interviews already defeated, her shoulders carrying the weight of anticipated rejection. She's built an entire narrative in her head where nothing good ever happens to her, where the world is stacked against her, where every door will slam shut before she gets close enough to knock. The second friend, let's call her Maya, takes a completely different approach. She's not delusional. She knows this sucks. She allows herself one good cry, maybe two. But then something shifts. She starts operating from a place that feels almost irrational to Sarah. Maya acts as if this layoff is the best thing that could have happened to her. She prepares for interviews like she's already been chosen. She reaches out to her network as if meaningful connections are inevitable, not hopeful. She makes career decisions as if success isn't something she's chasing, it's something that's already chasing her. Fast forward 8 months. Sarah is still stuck in the same mental loop, taking whatever job she could find out of desperation, resenting every morning alarm. Maya? She's in a role she didn't even know existed when she got laid off, making 30% more than her previous salary, working with people who energize her instead of drain her. Now, before you roll your eyes and think this is another just think positive speech, stop right there. This isn't about slapping a smile on your face and pretending your problems don't exist. This is about understanding something far more powerful and scientifically backed than simple optimism. This is about a psychological principle that separates people who create extraordinary lives from people who simply survive. When you act as if everything always works out, you're not just changing your thoughts. You're rewiring your brain. You're shifting your behavior. You're altering the energy you bring into every room, every conversation, every opportunity. And that changes everything. Today, we're diving deep into why this simple shift in assumption is the most underrated superpower you have. You're going to discover the neuroscience behind why acting as if literally creates new neural pathways, opens doors that seemed welded shut, and attracts opportunities that didn't exist 5 minutes ago. This isn't wishful thinking. This isn't ignoring reality. This is strategic certainty that transforms how the world responds to you. So here's the question. Are you ready to stop wondering if things will work out and start living as if they already have? Chapter 1. The Psychology of Unshakable Certainty. Most people walk through life like they're waiting for permission. permission to succeed, permission to be happy, permission to believe things might actually work out in their favor. They're in this constant state of "we'll see," always hedging their bets, never fully committing to the possibility that life might not be the struggle they've been taught to expect. But there's this small group of people who operate completely differently. They've tapped into what I call unshakable certainty. And no, this isn't about knowing exactly how their life will unfold. It's about having this deep, almost cellular level belief that regardless of what chaos is happening around them, things will ultimately land in their favor. Here's what's wild about certainty. It's not a prediction. It's a decision. Think about the last time you were absolutely certain about something small. Maybe you were certain you'd find a parking spot near that popular restaurant. Maybe you were certain your best friend would pick up the phone when you called. Maybe you were certain that Thai place everyone raves about would live up to the hype. Notice something? When you were certain, you didn't waste mental energy creating backup plans. You didn't catastrophize about what would happen if you were wrong. You just moved forward with this calm confidence. And that confidence became its own form of currency. The neuroscience here is fascinating. Your brain has this incredible system called the reticular activating system. Basically, your brain's bouncer deciding what information gets VIP access to your conscious attention. When you're operating from fear and uncertainty, your RAS is scanning for threats. It's highlighting every possible problem, every potential failure, every reason to be cautious. You're literally training your brain to be a problem detection machine. But when you flip the script and operate from certainty that everything works out, your RAS completely changes its programming. Suddenly, it's scanning for opportunities. It's highlighting solutions. It's noticing the helpful people, the unexpected resources, the paths forward that were invisible to you yesterday. Let me give you a real example. There's this entrepreneur I know, Marcus, who started his business with basically nothing. No safety net, no rich uncle, no trust fund. Everyone told him he was crazy. The statistics were against him. The market was saturated. But Marcus had this bizarre certainty that it would work out. Not hope, not optimism, certainty. This certainty showed up in everything. When investors said no, he didn't hear, "You're not good enough." He heard, "They're not the right fit." When his first product launch flopped, he didn't see failure, he saw data. When his bank account hit scary lows, he didn't panic. He got creative. His certainty didn't come from having all the answers. It came from this unshakable belief that he'd figure it out, that doors would open, that the right people would show up at the right time. And you know what? They did. Not because the universe owed him anything, but because his certainty changed how he showed up. He took different risks. He asked for bigger opportunities. He persisted through setbacks that would have destroyed someone operating from doubt. This is what people don't understand about certainty. It's not naive. It's strategic. When you're certain things will work out, you stop second-guessing every decision. You stop seeking validation from people who don't have skin in your game. You stop waiting for perfect conditions that will never arrive. Instead, you move with the kind of confidence that makes other people want to bet on you. People can smell certainty from a mile away. It's magnetic. When you walk into a room certain that you belong there, people treat you like you belong there. When you pitch an idea certain it's valuable, people perceive it as valuable. When you pursue a goal certain you'll achieve it, people want to help you get there because your certainty gives them confidence too. This creates what psychologists call a positive feedback loop. Your certainty attracts support, which reinforces your certainty, which attracts more support. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, but we'll get into that later. Here's the part that trips people up. Certainty doesn't eliminate failure. Marcus failed constantly. But here's the difference. When you're certain everything works out, failure stops being this identity-crushing event. It becomes information. It becomes redirection. It becomes that plot twist in your story that makes the eventual success even better. Think about it like this. If you're certain you'll eventually get to your destination, every wrong turn is just part of the journey. It's not evidence that you're lost. It's not proof that you should give up. It's just data that helps you navigate better. The successful entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, leaders, they all share this trait. They operated from certainty even when reality suggested they should be uncertain. J.K. Rowling was certain Harry Potter would find its audience even when 12 publishers rejected it. Sylvester Stallone was certain Rocky would get made, even when he was so broke he had to sell his dog. Sarah Blakely was certain Spanx would succeed, even when everyone told her the hosiery industry was dying. Their certainty didn't come from guaranteed outcomes. It came from a deep belief that things would work in their favor. And that belief shaped every single decision they made. When you develop this kind of certainty, something shifts. You stop living in constant fear of making the wrong choice. You stop needing everyone's approval before you act. You stop treating every setback like it's a cosmic sign that you're on the wrong path. Instead, you start trusting yourself. You start trusting the process. You start trusting that even when things don't go according to your plan, they're going according to a plan. Maybe a better plan than you could have designed yourself. This is what researchers call learned optimism, but it goes deeper. Optimism hopes things will work out. Certainty knows they will. That knowledge changes your posture, your tone, your energy, your decision-making. It changes how people perceive you and how they respond to you. But here's the responsibility that comes with this. When you operate from certainty, you can't play the victim anymore. You can't blame circumstances. You can't point fingers at the economy, your upbringing, your bad luck. Because once you claim the power of certainty, you're claiming the power to create your reality. And that's either terrifying or liberating, depending on whether you're ready for it. The question isn't whether this works. The question is whether you're ready to take on the responsibility of being the primary creative force in your own life. Chapter 2. Rewiring your mental operating system. Here's something that would have sounded like science fiction 50 years ago. Your brain is not fixed. You're not stuck with the mental patterns you have today. Every single thought you think, every belief you hold, every behavior you repeat is literally shaping the physical structure of your brain. This is neuroplasticity, and it's the reason why acting as if everything works out isn't just a mindset, it's a biological transformation. Most people are unknowingly training their brains for struggle. Every time they worry about worst-case scenarios, they're strengthening neural pathways that support anxiety. Every time they tell themselves they're not good enough, they're reinforcing networks that support self-doubt. Every time they catastrophize about potential problems, they're literally hardwiring their brain to expect and create more problems. But here's the beautiful part. You can rewire this. Every single day. When you consistently act as if everything works out, you start building entirely new neural highways. You're strengthening pathways associated with confidence, resourcefulness, solution-focused thinking. Over time, these new patterns don't require conscious effort. They become your default operating system. Let me break down how this actually works. Every thought sends electrical impulses through specific neural pathways in your brain. Think of it like hiking through a forest. The first time you walk a new route, you're pushing through brush, climbing over fallen trees, creating a path where none existed. It's hard work. But if you walk that same route every day, eventually you've created a clear trail. That's exactly what happens in your brain. When you catch yourself thinking, "This probably won't work," and consciously choose to think, "This is working out perfectly even if I can't see how yet," you're literally creating new pathways. The first few times feel forced, unnatural, maybe even dishonest. But you're not lying to yourself. You're rewiring yourself. This process starts with what neuroscientists call cognitive restructuring. It's about becoming aware of your automatic thoughts and making conscious choices about which ones to strengthen and which ones to let atrophy. Here's a practical example. Let's say you're about to give a presentation at work. Your old programming might immediately jump to, "I'm going to mess this up," or "They're going to think I don't know what I'm talking about." These thoughts trigger a cascade of stress hormones, tense up your body, and actually make the outcome you're afraid of more likely. But if you've been training your brain differently, you catch that thought. You don't suppress it or pretend it isn't there. You acknowledge it and then consciously choose a different pathway. "I have valuable insights to share," or "I've prepared well for this moment," or simply, "This is going to work out well." This isn't positive thinking. This is neural pathway selection. Your reticular activating system plays a crucial role here. Remember, it's the filter that determines what information from your environment deserves your attention. When you program it with the belief that everything works out, it starts highlighting evidence that supports this belief. And before you think this is just confirmation bias making you delusional, understand this. Your RAS is already filtering reality based on your existing beliefs. The question is whether you want it filtering in a way that serves you or sabotages you. If you believe life is hard and nothing good happens to you, your RAS will find plenty of evidence. The rude cashier, the traffic jam, the rejection email. But if you believe everything works out in your favor, your RAS finds different evidence. The unexpected compliment, the shortcut that saved you time, the rejection that freed you up for something better. Visualization accelerates this rewiring process dramatically. When you regularly visualize yourself successfully navigating challenges, your brain treats these mental rehearsals as real experiences. It's creating neural pathways for success before you've even achieved it in the physical world. Athletes have used this for decades. They mentally rehearse their performance, and brain scans show that the same neural networks light up during visualization as during actual performance. You're literally training your brain for success through mental practice. There's also this fascinating discovery about mirror neurons. These specialized brain cells fire both when you perform an action and when you watch someone else perform it. This means that surrounding yourself with people who naturally operate from certainty actually helps rewire your brain to do the same. You're not just learning from them intellectually, you're absorbing their neural patterns. This is why your environment matters so much. If you're constantly around people who expect things to go wrong, who complain constantly, who see obstacles everywhere, you're absorbing those patterns. But if you spend time with people who expect things to work out, who find solutions, who see possibilities, you're rewiring yourself to think the same way. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for decision-making and executive function, also transforms. Instead of being consumed by worry and worst-case scenarios, it becomes focused on solution finding and opportunity recognition. This dramatically improves your ability to make clear, confident decisions under pressure. Even your sleep plays a role. During deep sleep, your brain consolidates the neural patterns you've been strengthening during the day. When you go to bed thinking thoughts of certainty and confidence, your brain works overnight to make these patterns stronger and more automatic. This is why your bedtime thoughts matter more than you think. Your stress response system changes too. When you genuinely believe everything works out, your nervous system spends less time in fight or flight and more time in what's called rest and digest mode. This isn't just about feeling calmer. It literally improves your immune function, enhances your sleep quality, sharpens your cognitive performance, and increases your overall energy. Here's something else that shifts: your locus of control. This is a psychology term for where you believe power resides. People with an external locus of control feel like they're at the mercy of circumstances. People with an internal locus of control believe they significantly influence their outcomes. Acting as if everything works out strengthens your internal locus of control. You start feeling more empowered, more capable, more in the driver's seat of your life. And research shows this is one of the strongest predictors of success across every domain: career, relationships, health, finances. The beautiful thing about neuroplasticity is it never stops. Your brain maintains its ability to form new pathways, whether you're 25 or 75. It's never too late to start rewiring. The changes don't happen overnight, but they begin immediately. Within days of consistently choosing empowering thoughts over limiting ones, you'll notice subtle shifts in your mood and energy. Within weeks, these changes become more pronounced. Within months, operating from certainty becomes your natural default. You're not changing who you are. You're revealing who you actually are underneath all the programming you absorbed from a world that trained you to expect struggle. Chapter 3. The Self-Fulfilling Prophecy Mechanism. Let's talk about one of the most powerful psychological forces in human behavior, the self-fulfilling prophecy. This is the phenomenon where your beliefs about future events actually influence your behavior in ways that make those events more likely to happen. When you truly believe everything works out, you unconsciously start acting in ways that create exactly that outcome. Here's how this plays out in real life. Imagine two people applying for the same promotion. Same qualifications on paper, same performance reviews, same opportunity. But one person expects to get it, and the other person expects to be passed over. The person expecting success shows up differently to the decision-making conversation. They speak with confidence about their vision for the role. They ask questions about next steps rather than if there are next steps. They discuss challenges as problems to solve rather than obstacles that might stop them. Their entire energy says, "I belong here." The person expecting rejection? They're apologetic. They undersell their accomplishments. They focus on their weaknesses instead of their strengths. They ask tentative questions. Their energy says, "I'm not sure I deserve this." Same people, same qualifications, different expectations, completely different outcomes. This is the self-fulfilling prophecy in action. Your expectations don't just affect your perception, they affect your behavior, which affects how others respond to you, which affects your actual outcomes. Let me give you another example. Think about dating. When someone goes into a date expecting it to be awkward and go nowhere, what happens? They're nervous, which makes them talk too much or not enough. They're self-conscious, which makes them less present and engaged. They're looking for signs of rejection, which they inevitably find because humans are awkward creatures, and everyone gives mixed signals. But someone who goes into the same date expecting it to be fun and potentially meaningful, they're relaxed. They're curious about the other person. They're present in the conversation. They interpret ambiguous signals generously rather than catastrophically, and that energy makes them infinitely more attractive. The self-fulfilling prophecy operates on multiple levels simultaneously. First, it shapes your perception. When you expect things to work out, you notice opportunities that someone with a pessimistic outlook would completely miss. You're not seeing things that aren't there. You're seeing things that were always there but were previously invisible to your expectation-filtered awareness. Second, it influences your behavior in ways you're not even conscious of. Expectation affects everything from your posture to your tone of voice to how long you persist when facing obstacles. Research shows that when teachers expect certain students to excel, those students perform better, even when the expectations were randomly assigned and had nothing to do with the student's actual ability. The teachers unconsciously gave more attention, more encouragement, and more challenging material to the students they expected to succeed. The same thing happens in your life. When you expect success, you prepare differently. You invest more energy. You take smarter risks. You persist longer. You show up with an energy that makes others want to support you. Third, the self-fulfilling prophecy operates through what researchers call behavioral confirmation. Your expectations actually influence how others behave toward you. When you expect people to be helpful, you approach them in ways that bring out their helpfulness. When you expect opportunities to appear, you stay alert and recognizable ways that help you spot them. This is particularly powerful in entrepreneurship. When you start a business acting as if its success is inevitable, you make completely different choices. You invest in quality because you're building something that will last. You form partnerships as if they're long-term relationships. You solve problems with creativity and persistence because failure isn't part of your mental model. Customers and investors sense this certainty. They respond with more confidence in your venture. They're more likely to take a chance on you because you're clearly not taking a chance on yourself. You already know it will work. In relationships, the effect is equally powerful. When you expect to be treated well, you don't tolerate poor treatment. When you believe healthy relationships are possible for you, you make choices that support creating them. When you act as if you deserve love and respect, you attract people capable of providing both. Here's where it gets really interesting. The self-fulfilling prophecy affects your relationship with failure and setbacks. When you believe everything works out, temporary failures become course corrections rather than evidence you're on the wrong path. This perspective allows you to extract lessons without becoming discouraged, to pivot quickly when necessary, to maintain the emotional resilience needed for long-term success. Let me tell you about Rachel, a graphic designer I know. She got laid off from her agency job, which could have been devastating. But Rachel operated from this deep certainty that it was happening for a reason, that something better was coming. So, instead of desperately applying to every agency job she could find, she took a week to think about what she actually wanted. She reached out to dream clients she'd always been too scared to approach when she had job security. She started a passion project she'd been putting off. Within 2 months, one of those dream clients hired her as a consultant for triple what her agency was paying her. The passion project led to speaking opportunities. A year later, she had her own thriving design studio. Did the certainty magically create these opportunities? No, but it influenced every single decision she made after getting laid off. Instead of scarcity thinking, she operated from abundance. Instead of desperation, she operated from strategy. Instead of taking the first lifeline thrown to her, she waited for the right opportunities. The prophecy fulfilled itself through her behavior. Here's the critical thing to understand. The self-fulfilling prophecy isn't magic. It's not about sitting back and waiting for good things to happen because you believe they will. It's about how your beliefs influence your actions, and how your actions influence your results. The prophecy fulfills itself through the pathway of inspired, confident action. This is why the phrase, "act as if," is so important. You're not just believing things will work out, you're acting in complete alignment with that belief. The scientific research on this is extensive. Students perform better when they expect to succeed. Athletes perform better when they expect to win. Patients recover faster when they expect to heal. Across every domain of human performance, expectations measurably impact outcomes. What makes this particularly powerful is that you don't need external validation to start this process. You can begin acting as if everything works out right now, regardless of current circumstances. The moment you make this shift, you begin influencing your future outcomes through the choices you make today. The self-fulfilling prophecy also explains why some people seem naturally lucky, while others seem to attract problems. It's not that the universe plays favorites. It's that people with positive expectations create positive outcomes through their perception, behavior, and influence on others. Understanding this puts you in complete control. Your expectations aren't passive predictions. They're active forces shaping your future through their influence on your present moment choices. Here's the thing nobody tells you. You're already creating self-fulfilling prophecies every single day. Question is whether they're working for you or against you. Whether you're prophesying success or struggle, abundance or scarcity, connection or isolation, you get to choose, starting right now. Chapter 4. Embracing Uncertainty as Your Playground. Let's address the elephant in the room. Fear of uncertainty is probably the biggest thing keeping you from acting as if everything works out. Most people are completely paralyzed by not knowing exactly how things will unfold. They need to see the entire roadmap before they'll take the first step. They want guarantees that will never come. But here's what successful people understand that others don't. Uncertainty isn't your enemy. It's your greatest ally. When you learn to embrace uncertainty rather than fear it, you gain access to a whole universe of possibilities that are completely unavailable to those who need everything figured out first. Think about it. Everything worth doing involves uncertainty. Starting a business, moving to a new city,
asking someone out, changing careers, having kids, creating art, learning a new skill. If you wait until you're certain about the outcome, you'll wait forever, and you'll miss everything. The fear of uncertainty is hardwired into us from evolution. Our ancestors survived by being cautious, by staying in familiar territory, by avoiding the unknown. That programming kept them alive when the unknown could literally eat them. But in today's world, that same programming keeps us from living the extraordinary lives we're capable of creating. Modern life rewards a completely different relationship with uncertainty. The people thriving today are those who've learned to see uncertainty as excitement rather than anxiety, as potential rather than threat, as freedom rather than limitation. Let me introduce you to the concept of reframing. When you feel that knot in your stomach about an uncertain situation, you can interpret it two ways. I'm anxious because this could go wrong, or I'm excited because anything is possible. Same physical sensation, completely different meaning. And the meaning you choose determines your behavior. Here's something that might blow your mind. Certainty is mostly an illusion anyway. Even the things that seem most stable in your life could change unexpectedly. Your job could be eliminated. Your health could shift. Relationships evolve. The economy fluctuates. The only real certainty is change itself. Once you accept that uncertainty is the fundamental nature of existence, you can stop fighting it and start leveraging it. Instead of trying to control every variable, which is exhausting and impossible, you can focus on the one thing you always have power over: how you respond to whatever happens. This shift from controlling outcomes to trusting your ability to handle outcomes is life-changing. Acting as if everything works out doesn't mean believing you can predict every detail. It means believing in your capacity to turn whatever happens into something beneficial. It means trusting that even when things don't go according to your plan, they're going according to a larger plan that serves your highest good. Let me tell you about James, a friend who quit his corporate job to travel the world with no clear plan. Everyone thought he was insane. No job lined up, no trust fund, just savings that would last maybe 6 months if he was careful. His family freaked out. His friends tried to talk sense into him. But James had this deep certainty that it would work out. Not certainty about how or when, just certainty that it would. 6 months into his travels, his money was running low. But instead of panicking, he stayed curious. He started documenting his journey online, not trying to build a following, just sharing because he enjoyed it. Someone saw his content and offered him freelance work. That led to consulting gigs, which led to speaking opportunities. Within a year, he was making more money than his corporate job, working from anywhere, living exactly the life he wanted. Did certainty magically create this? No, but it kept him open to possibilities his fear-based thinking would have shut down. It kept him taking action when others would have frozen. It kept him seeing opportunities where others saw problems. The fear of uncertainty often shows up as perfectionism. People delay taking action because they want the perfect plan, perfect timing, perfect resources. But perfection is just procrastination wearing a fancy outfit. Acting as if everything works out allows you to embrace what I call optimal imperfection. You can move forward with incomplete information, imperfect plans, limited resources. Because you trust your ability to adjust, adapt, and improve as you go. You understand that course correction is easier than perfect direction. One of the most powerful reframes around uncertainty is changing your relationship with failure. Most people fear uncertainty because they're terrified of failing. But when you act as if everything works out, there's no such thing as failure, only feedback. Every outcome gives you valuable information for making better decisions next time. This shift allows you to take what researchers call intelligent risks, where the potential upside significantly outweighs the potential downside. But most people won't take them because they can't guarantee the outcome. When you're not afraid of uncertainty, you can evaluate risks based on probability and potential rather than needing absolute certainty. Another way to embrace uncertainty is building what Nassim Taleb calls anti-fragility. the ability to not just survive uncertainty, but actually get stronger from it. When you act as if everything works out, you develop this quality because you approach challenges as growth opportunities rather than threats to avoid. Mindfulness helps immensely here. When you're fully present, you're not projecting fearful scenarios about the future or ruminating about past failures. You're simply here, now, able to respond to what's actually happening, rather than what you imagine might happen. Building uncertainty tolerance is like building a muscle. You start small. Maybe you take a different route to work without planning it. Maybe you start a conversation without scripting exactly what you'll say. Maybe you apply for something without meeting every single qualification. Each small act of embracing uncertainty builds your confidence for handling larger uncertainties. The people who create extraordinary lives aren't those who eliminate uncertainty. They're those who learn to dance with it. They understand that uncertainty is where magic happens, where breakthroughs occur, where dreams become reality. The most beautiful destinations are often reached by paths nobody could have mapped out in advance. Think about every major positive change in your life. I'd bet most of them involved significant uncertainty. The relationship that changed everything. The career move that opened new doors. The decision that seemed risky but turned out perfect. Uncertainty isn't preventing your success. It's the doorway to it. Chapter 5. The Power of Daily Assumptions. Your daily life is shaped far more by your assumptions than by your circumstances. Most people don't even realize how many assumptions they're constantly making, or how these automatic assumptions shape everything from their morning routine to their most important decisions. When you start acting as if everything works out, you're essentially choosing to make empowering assumptions instead of limiting ones. And this shift in daily assumptions transforms your entire experience of life. Let's start with something as simple as your commute. If you assume traffic will be terrible and you'll be stressed and late, you approach your journey from anxiety and resistance. You leave later than you should, you drive aggressively, you get frustrated by delays. You arrive at work in a negative state that affects your entire day. But if you assume your commute will flow smoothly, you prepare differently. You leave with adequate time. You put on music you enjoy. You use any delays as opportunities for thinking or planning. You arrive at work in a positive state. Here's what's remarkable. These different assumptions often create different outcomes. Your relaxed, positive energy while driving tends to create a more pleasant experience. You notice beautiful things you'd miss while stressed. You're more patient with other drivers, which creates better flow. You often arrive having had insights during your peaceful drive. This principle extends everywhere. When you assume people generally mean well, you interpret their actions more generously and respond with more kindness, which typically brings out better behavior in them. When you assume challenges are opportunities, you approach problems with curiosity rather than resistance, which leads to more creative solutions. In your work life, assumptions are everything. When you assume your colleagues want to collaborate and succeed together, you communicate more openly and build stronger relationships. When you assume your boss wants you to succeed, you're more likely to ask for feedback and seek challenging projects. When you assume your work matters, you bring more passion and creativity to it. These assumptions literally change your physiology. When you assume positive outcomes, your nervous system operates from calm alertness rather than anxious vigilance. Your body produces different hormones. Your immune system functions better. Your sleep improves. Your energy increases. You're not just thinking differently. You're becoming a different person at the cellular level. Let me tell you about assumptions in social situations. When you enter a networking event assuming you'll meet interesting people and create valuable connections, you behave completely differently than when you assume it'll be awkward and unproductive. You make eye contact more readily, start conversations more easily, listen more attentively, exchange contact information more confidently. And guess what? You actually do meet interesting people and create valuable connections. Your assumption created the outcome. In romantic relationships, assumptions are often the difference between thriving and struggling. When you assume your partner loves you and wants the best for you, you interpret their actions through this lens of love. They're quiet. They're probably tired rather than angry at you. They suggest something different. They're trying to enhance your experience together rather than criticize your ideas. These generous assumptions create space for love to flourish. Financial abundance is heavily influenced by daily assumptions. When you assume there's always enough money for what truly matters, you make different decisions. You invest in your growth. You're generous with others. You focus on creating value rather than just cutting expenses. This mindset often leads to increased income because you're operating from abundance rather than scarcity. You're open to opportunities that scarcity thinking would cause you to miss. Even your health is affected by assumptions. When you assume your body is strong and capable of healing, you make different choices about food, exercise, sleep, and stress management. You're more likely to try new activities, less likely to catastrophize minor symptoms, more likely to take proactive steps toward wellness. The key to leveraging assumptions is becoming conscious of them. Most people make assumptions automatically based on past experiences, family conditioning, or cultural messages. But when you realize you're constantly making assumptions anyway, you might as well choose ones that serve you. This doesn't mean ignoring obvious red flags or being naive about real risks. It means defaulting to the most empowering interpretation when evidence is ambiguous. It means giving people and situations the benefit of the doubt until proven otherwise. It means assuming the universe is on your side rather than against you. Here's a practice I call assumption awareness. Throughout your day, notice the assumptions you're making about upcoming events, other people's motivations, potential outcomes, your own capabilities. When you catch yourself making limiting assumptions, consciously choose more empowering ones instead. Another powerful practice is assumption journaling. At the end of each day, reflect on the assumptions you made and how they influenced your experiences. Notice the correlation between positive assumptions and positive outcomes. between fearful assumptions and stressful experiences. This awareness helps you become more intentional about the assumptions you choose to make. The cumulative effect of making empowering assumptions day after day is transformational. You begin living in a different reality, not because external circumstances changed, but because you're interpreting and responding to those circumstances from a completely different framework. You discover that assumption isn't just a mental activity, it's a creative force that shapes your actual experience of life. Chapter 6. Becoming a magnet through energy. Everything is energy. You, your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs. This isn't New Age woo-woo. This is quantum physics. And when you act as if everything works out, you're not just changing your mindset, you're literally changing your energetic frequency. And this shift makes you a magnet for experiences, opportunities, and people that align with success. Most people unknowingly vibrate at the frequency of their problems rather than their solutions. They think about what they don't want, worry about what might go wrong, focus on current limitations. This creates an energetic signature that attracts more of the same. It's like tuning your radio to the struggle station and then wondering why you only hear songs of difficulty. But when you consistently act as if everything works out, you tune into a completely different frequency. You start vibrating at the level of solutions, possibilities, positive outcomes, and like energy attracts like energy. Understanding this changes everything about goal achievement. Instead of forcing outcomes through sheer willpower, you learn to align your energy with what you desire and allow success to flow naturally. This doesn't mean becoming passive. It means taking inspired action from high vibration rather than desperate action from fear. Your energetic state affects every interaction. When you're vibrating at certainty and positive expectation, people feel it immediately. They're drawn to your confidence, inspired by your vision, want to be part of whatever you're creating. Conversely, when you're vibrating at doubt and desperation, people sense that too. They instinctively pull away or respond from their own caution and uncertainty. This is why job interviews and first dates go better when you're not trying too hard. When you show up from genuine confidence rather than need, you create an entirely different energetic dynamic. The key to maintaining high vibration is understanding it's a choice you make moment by moment. External circumstances don't determine your vibration. Your response to those circumstances does. You can be in a challenging situation and still choose to vibrate at the frequency of someone who knows everything will work out perfectly. This doesn't mean forcing fake positivity or ignoring genuine emotions. It means feeling whatever you're feeling fully, then consciously choosing to align with the energy of your desired outcome, rather than staying stuck in the energy of your current problem. Gratitude is one of the fastest ways to raise your vibration. When you focus on what you're grateful for, you automatically align with abundance frequency rather than lack frequency. And this creates more to be grateful for. Your physical body affects your vibration too. When you move your body regularly, eat nourishing foods, get adequate rest, you naturally maintain higher vibration. When you neglect your physical well-being,
your energy becomes dense and sluggish. The environments you inhabit influence your vibration. Cluttered, chaotic spaces lower your frequency. Clean, beautiful, inspiring environments help you maintain higher vibration. This is why successful people often invest in creating spaces that energize them. The content you consume matters enormously. When you regularly expose yourself to negative news, gossip, or fear-based entertainment, you absorb those frequencies. But when you consciously choose uplifting, educational, inspiring content, you feed your mind with high vibration frequencies. Music has particularly powerful effects on vibration. Different music creates different energetic states. When you choose music that makes you feel confident, inspired, positive, you're using sound to tune your frequency to match desired outcomes. The language you use affects your vibration too. Words carry energy. When you speak with certainty about your goals, express gratitude for your experiences, use language that assumes positive outcomes, you're using speech to maintain high vibration. Your breathing patterns directly connect to your energetic state. When you breathe deeply and consciously, you create space for high vibration energy to flow through you. When breathing is shallow and restricted from stress, your energy becomes constricted too. Visualization is another powerful tool. When you regularly visualize desired outcomes as already achieved, you attune your energy to those experiences before they manifest physically. This creates an energetic blueprint that guides your actions and attracts necessary people and opportunities. The company you keep profoundly affects your vibration. Energy is contagious. You inevitably absorb some frequency of people you spend most time with. When you surround yourself with positive, ambitious, grateful people who also believe everything works out, their energy supports and amplifies your own high vibration. Perhaps most importantly, acting as if everything works out creates what I call energetic momentum. Each time you choose to respond from this high vibration place, you make it easier to maintain that frequency in the future. Over time, this becomes your natural energetic set point. You become a consistent magnet for success rather than someone who occasionally attracts good things when conditions are perfect. Chapter 7. Transforming obstacles into opportunities. The greatest test of acting as if everything works out comes when you face apparent setbacks, failures, disappointments. These moments reveal whether you truly believe the principle or only apply it when things are easy. People who master this mindset understand that setbacks aren't evidence things aren't working out. They're simply part of how things work out. Every obstacle contains seeds of equal or greater benefit. This isn't feel-good philosophy. It's practical truth that becomes visible when you learn to look for it. The job rejection that leads you to start your own company. The relationship that ends and makes space for your soulmate. The financial loss that teaches lessons ultimately making you wealthy. The health challenge forcing you to discover strength you never knew you had. When you truly act as if everything works out, you approach setbacks with curiosity rather than devastation. Instead of, "Why is this happening to me?" you ask, "How is this serving my highest good?" Instead of seeing yourself as a victim, you see yourself as a student receiving exactly the education you need for your next level. This perspective completely changes your response to challenges. Instead of wasting energy on blame, resentment, self-pity, you immediately begin looking for the opportunity hidden within the challenge. You trust there's information, strength, or redirection you need, even if you can't see it clearly in the moment. The key is understanding setbacks often occur because you're being guided towards something better than what
you originally planned. Your conscious mind has specific ideas about how success should unfold. But there's larger intelligence at work, seeing possibilities beyond your current awareness. What looks like a detour from your limited perspective is often a shortcut from the broader view. This doesn't mean becoming passive or failing to learn from mistakes. It means maintaining forward momentum and positive expectation, even when external circumstances suggest you should give up. Resilience becomes much easier when you believe everything's working in your favor. Instead of mustering strength to overcome obstacles, you simply stay curious about how each obstacle serves your success. This shift from resistance to curiosity dramatically reduces the emotional drain setbacks typically create. Let me tell you about Keisha, who got fired from her dream job. Absolutely blindsided. She'd given that company 5 years of her life. She was devastated. But Keisha had this practice of acting as if everything works out. So after allowing herself to feel the hurt, she started asking different questions. What if this is the best thing that could have happened? What if I was staying there out of comfort rather than growth? What if something better is waiting? She started noticing things. How much stress that job had created. How little time she'd had for her personal life. How many ideas she'd suppressed because they didn't fit the corporate structure. 3 months later, she launched a consulting business, helping companies solve the exact problems she'd been trying to fix from inside. Within a year, she was making twice her old salary, working with multiple companies, setting her own schedule. The firing wasn't the problem. It was the solution to a problem she didn't even know she had. The most successful people in history have all faced significant setbacks, but they shared this ability to reframe experiences as essential parts of their success story. When you act as if everything works out, you begin seeing patterns. How certain setbacks actually saved you from bigger problems down the road. How disappointments freed your energy for better opportunities. How challenges developed qualities that became essential for later success. This perspective is particularly powerful with rejection. Instead of taking it personally or seeing it as evidence of inadequacy, you recognize it as redirection. The job that didn't hire you. The investor who didn't fund you. The person who didn't date you. Each rejection potentially saved you from a situation that wouldn't have served your highest good. The timing of setbacks often reveals their purpose. What seems like terrible timing in the moment frequently proves perfect timing in retrospect.
The delay that frustrated you created space for a better opportunity. The loss that devastated you made you available for something more aligned with your values. The failure that embarrassed you taught lessons you needed before your next success. This
doesn't mean seeking setbacks or becoming comfortable with mediocrity. It means trusting that when setbacks occur, they're part of a larger pattern ultimately working in your favor. This trust allows you to bounce back faster, learn lessons more quickly, move forward with renewed determination rather than diminished confidence. One of the most important skills you can develop is what researchers call benefit finding, the ability to identify positive outcomes resulting from negative experiences. When you actively look for how each setback serves your growth, teaches valuable lessons, or redirects you toward better opportunities, you maintain forward momentum instead of getting stuck in disappointment. The language you use to describe setbacks is crucial. When you call them failures, you program your mind to see them as endings. But when you call them redirections, lessons, plot twists, course corrections, you maintain expectation that they're part of your success story. Your emotional
response determines how quickly you transform setbacks into comebacks. When you allow yourself to feel disappointed without becoming devastated, angry without becoming bitter, concerned without becoming hopeless, you maintain the emotional agility needed to spot and seize opportunities setbacks often create. The most profound realization: what you initially perceive as setbacks often turn out to be the most important events in your success story. The moments that challenged you most, taught you most, stretched you most, ultimately transformed you most. When you truly understand this, you begin welcoming challenges as signs you're being prepared for something greater than you previously imagined. Chapter 8: Relationships and the Mirror Effect. Your relationships are both a reflection of and a contributing factor to your belief that everything works out. When you truly embody this mindset, it fundamentally transforms how you show up in relationships, who you attract, and how you navigate the inevitable challenges of human connection. Acting as if everything works out doesn't just change your career or finances, it revolutionizes the quality of your relationships. People are naturally magnetic to those who operate from genuine confidence and positive expectation. There's something compelling about someone who believes in good outcomes, who sees possibilities where others see problems, who maintains positive energy even during difficult times. This isn't fake optimism. It's the deep peace and strength that comes from truly trusting life is unfolding as it should. When you act as if everything works out, you stop being needy in relationships. You don't desperately cling to people from fear you won't find better connections. You don't compromise your values or tolerate poor treatment because you're afraid of being alone. Instead, you approach relationships from wholeness, offering your authentic self, expecting others to do the same. This shift in energetic approach creates completely different dynamics. Instead of attracting people drawn to your neediness or weakness, you attract people who appreciate your strength and authenticity. Instead of relationships based on mutual lack or fear, you create relationships based on mutual abundance and growth. In romantic relationships, Acting as if everything works out means trusting the right person will appear at the right time. Rather than forcing connections with incompatible partners, it means believing love is your natural state, and you deserve relationships that enhance your life rather than complicate it. This belief changes how you date, how you communicate, how you handle breakups. When challenges arise, relationships, as they inevitably do, your belief that everything works out allows you to approach these as opportunities for deeper connection rather than threats to the relationship. Instead of immediately assuming the worst when your partner is upset or distant, you can approach them with curiosity and compassion. This doesn't mean ignoring red flags or accepting unacceptable behavior. It means giving people benefit of the doubt when appropriate. Communicating from love rather than fear, trusting that healthy relationships can navigate difficulties successfully. Let me tell you about Derek and his girlfriend Maria. They hit a rough patch. Different visions for their future, different communication styles, different approaches to conflict. Derek's old pattern would have been to panic, assume it was over, maybe even self-sabotage to get it over with. But he'd been practicing this mindset of everything working out. So instead of catastrophizing, he approached the challenges with curiosity. What if this rough patch is actually bringing us closer? What if these differences are teaching us something important? What if this is making our relationship stronger? That shift in perspective changed everything. Instead of defensive arguments, they had honest conversations. Instead of assuming incompatibility, they learned each other's languages. Instead of the relationship ending, it deepened into something more authentic. Your family relationships transform when you operate from this mindset. Instead of trying to change or control family members who frustrate you, you accept them while maintaining appropriate boundaries. You can love them without needing their approval or validation. You can participate in family dynamics without being dragged down by family drama. This is particularly powerful with difficult relatives. When you truly believe everything's working out perfectly, you can maintain peace and positivity even in challenging family environments. You become a source of stability rather than another participant in whatever dysfunction exists. Friendships evolve too. You naturally gravitate toward friends who share your positive outlook and support your growth. Relationships with chronically negative or energy-draining people tend to fade naturally. You stop trying to fix or save friends who don't want to change. You stop tolerating friendships that consistently leave you feeling worse rather than better. Your professional relationships are equally affected. When you believe everything works out, you approach workplace relationships with confidence and authenticity. You're more likely to speak up in meetings, offer creative ideas, take on leadership roles. You trust your contributions will be well received and good things will come from stepping up. You handle workplace conflicts differently, too. Instead of taking things personally or assuming the worst about colleagues' motivations, you approach disagreements with curiosity and genuine desire. For win-win solutions, this makes you someone people want to work with rather than someone they try to avoid. Social situations change dramatically. Instead of feeling anxious about meeting new people or worried about acceptance. You enter social situations with genuine interest in others and confidence in your own worth. This natural confidence makes you more approachable and interesting to others. When you act as if everything works out, you become the person others turn to during difficult times. Your calm confidence and positive perspective make you a source of strength and hope. You become a leader and influencer in your social circles, not through manipulation or self-promotion, but through the natural magnetism of someone who genuinely believes in positive possibilities. Perhaps most importantly, your relationship with yourself improves dramatically. You stop being your own worst critic and become your own best supporter. You treat yourself with the same kindness and patience you should offer a good friend. You trust your instincts and decisions more readily because you believe even your mistakes will ultimately serve your highest good. This improved relationship with yourself creates positive ripple effects in all other relationships. When you're not constantly seeking validation from others, you can show up as your authentic self. When you're not afraid of rejection or abandonment, you can love more freely and deeply. When you trust everything works out, you can be present and genuine rather than strategic or defensive. The cumulative effect is your entire social world begins reflecting your inner belief. You find yourself surrounded by people who believe in you, support your dreams, share your positive outlook. Your relationships become a source of joy and strength rather than stress and drama. You discover that when you truly believe everything works out, it shows up first and most clearly in the quality of your human connections. Chapter 9. Taking action from inner knowing. Acting as if everything works out is not about passive waiting or wishful thinking. It's about taking action from a place of inner certainty rather than fear, desperation, or anxiety. When you truly believe everything's working in your favor, your actions become inspired rather than forced, strategic rather than reactive, powerful rather than scattered. This shift in the energy behind your actions transforms both the process and the results. Most people take action from lack or fear. They're motivated by what they're trying to avoid rather than what they're trying to create. They work long hours because they're afraid of financial insecurity. They network aggressively because they're afraid of missing opportunities. They say yes to everything because they're afraid of disappointing people. This fear-based action creates stress, burnout, and often produces mediocre results because the energy behind it is constricted and desperate. But when you act from certainty that everything works out, your motivation comes from a completely different source. You're not running away from problems. You're running toward possibilities. You're not trying to prove yourself. You're expressing yourself. You're not forcing outcomes. You're aligning with them. This shift in motivation changes everything about how you work and what you accomplish. Inspired action feels different than forced action. When you're taking inspired action, you have energy for your tasks rather than feeling drained. You find creative solutions rather than getting stuck in problems. You make decisions quickly
and confidently rather than second-guessing everything. You attract support and cooperation rather than having to push and convince. The key is learning to distinguish between the voice of fear and the voice of wisdom within you. Fear-based thinking generates actions that feel heavy, urgent, complicated. Wisdom-based thinking generates actions that feel natural, timely, elegant. When you're operating from certainty that everything works out, you can trust the guidance emerging from your wiser self. This doesn't mean you never feel uncomfortable or challenged. Growth always involves some discomfort. But there's a difference between discomfort from stretching beyond your comfort zone and discomfort from forcing yourself in the wrong direction. Inspired action might feel challenging, but it doesn't feel wrong. One of the most important skills is learning to wait for inspired action rather than taking any action just to feel like you're doing something. When you're anxious or impatient, there's this tendency to take action for action's sake, even when that action isn't aligned with your goals or values. But when you trust everything's working out perfectly, you can wait for the right action to become clear. This patience doesn't mean procrastination. It means developing discernment to know when to act and when to wait, when to push and when to allow, when to speak and when to listen. This discernment comes from trusting your inner guidance rather than external pressures or timelines that may not be appropriate for your unique situation. Let me tell you about Amara, an artist who is feeling pressure to open an online shop and start selling her work. Everyone was telling her that's how artists make money now. But something felt off. She couldn't explain it, but the idea of running an online business felt heavy and complicated. Instead of forcing it, she trusted that feeling. She kept creating art because she loved it. She kept sharing it because it brought her joy. 6 months later, a gallery owner discovered her work on social media and offered her a show. That show led to collectors, which led to commissions, which led to a sustainable art career without the online shop she'd felt pressured to create. The right path became clear when she stopped forcing and started trusting. Whenever you take inspired action, you often find results exceed expectations. This is because inspired action is aligned with natural forces and opportunities that forced action often works against. You find yourself in the right place at the right time more frequently. You meet exactly the people you need to meet. Resources and support appear just when you need them. This alignment creates what some call synchronicity or flow. When you're taking inspired action from certainty, life begins feeling more magical and effortless. Doors open you didn't know existed. Opportunities arise better than what you originally planned. Solutions appear that solve multiple problems at once. Your decision-making process transforms. Instead of agonizing over every choice, weighing endless pros and cons, seeking validation from others, you make decisions quickly and confidently. You trust that even if a decision doesn't turn out as expected, it will lead you exactly where you need to go. This confidence in your decision-making is incredibly liberating. You stop second-guessing yourself constantly.
You stop seeking permission from others to pursue your dreams. You stop waiting for perfect information before taking action. You understand that willingness to make decisions and course correct as needed is more valuable than the ability to make perfect decisions. The energy you bring to your work changes dramatically. When you believe everything's working out perfectly, you can enjoy the process rather than just focusing on the outcome. You can be present and creative in daily tasks rather than constantly thinking about what comes next. You can collaborate more effectively because you're not trying to control everything. This presence and enjoyment in your work often leads to higher quality results. When you're not stressed and anxious, your mind is clearer and more creative. When you're not trying to force outcomes, you're more open to unexpected solutions. When you're enjoying what you're doing, others want to support and participate in your efforts. Your relationship with challenges changes. 2. Instead of seeing obstacles as evidence you're on the wrong path, you see them as puzzles to solve or skills to develop. You approach problems with curiosity and creativity rather than frustration and resistance. You often find what initially seemed like a barrier was actually pointing you toward a better solution. Perhaps most importantly, taking inspired action from certainty creates a positive feedback loop. Each time you act from this place and see positive results, your trust in the process deepens. Each success reinforces your belief that everything's working out, which makes it easier to take inspired action in the future. Over time, this becomes your natural way of operating in the world. The cumulative effect is your entire life begins feeling like creative collaboration with the universe, rather than a struggle against it. You become someone who consistently creates results that exceed expectations, not through force or manipulation, but through alignment with the natural flow of success and opportunity. Chapter 10. Building Faith That Cannot Be Shaken. Faith isn't the absence of doubt. It's the presence of trust despite uncertainty. When you're building unshakable faith that everything works out, you're not trying to eliminate all questions or concerns. You're developing the ability to maintain positive expectation and forward momentum, even when external circumstances seem to suggest you should worry, doubt, or give up. This kind of faith is built through experience, not wishful thinking. Every time you choose to act as if things are working out and then witness positive results, you add another layer of evidence to your growing conviction. Every time you face a challenge with trust rather than fear, and see how it ultimately serves your growth, you strengthen your faith in the process. The foundation of unshakable faith is recognizing you've survived 100% of your challenges so far. Every difficult situation you've ever faced has either been resolved or taught you something valuable. Every door that closed led to a better door opening. Every loss made space for something more aligned with your true desires. When you really examine your life history, you find abundant evidence that things do indeed work out, often in ways better than you could have planned. This historical evidence becomes the bedrock of your faith going forward.
Instead of focusing on the uncertainty of future challenges, you can focus on the certainty of your ability to navigate them successfully. Instead of wondering if you'll handle whatever comes next, you can trust in your proven resilience and adaptability. Building unshakable faith also requires understanding the difference between faith and attachment. Faith trusts things will work out perfectly. Attachment insists they work out in a specific way. When you're attached to particular outcomes, your faith wavers whenever circumstances don't match your expectations. But when your faith is in the process rather than specific results, you can remain steady regardless of how things unfold. This detachment from specific outcomes doesn't mean becoming passive or stopping having preferences. It means holding preferences lightly, trusting what you receive will be what serves you best, even if it's different from what you originally wanted. This flexibility allows your faith to remain strong, even when your plans change. One of the most powerful practices for building faith is gratitude for things that haven't happened yet. When you can genuinely feel grateful for future blessings before they manifest, you're demonstrating absolute faith in positive outcomes. This practice trains your mind to expect good things and your heart to remain open to receiving them. This doesn't mean pretending to feel grateful for things you don't actually want. It means connecting with the feeling of appreciation for the good you know is coming, even if you can't see exactly how or when. This emotional state of anticipated gratitude is one of the highest vibrations you can maintain. Let me tell you about my friend Hassan. He was building his company for 3 years with minimal traction. Everyone told him to quit. His savings were almost gone. The smart move would have been to get a job. But Hassan had this deep faith it would work out. Not hope, faith. He practiced gratitude for the success he couldn't yet see. He visualized his company thriving. He acted as if the breakthrough was inevitable. Month 37. Everything changed. A viral moment, strategic partnerships, investors who'd ignored him suddenly interested. Within 6 months, his company was valued at millions. Did faith magically create this? No, but it kept him going when logic said quit. It kept him taking action when others would have stopped. It kept him open to opportunities fear would have caused him to miss. Prayer and meditation can be powerful tools for building faith, regardless of your religious beliefs. These practices connect you with something larger than yourself. Individual concerns. They help you remember you're supported by forces beyond your conscious control. Whether you call it God, the universe, source, or simply the interconnectedness of all life, connecting with this larger perspective strengthens your faith in positive outcomes. The people you surround yourself with significantly impact your ability to maintain faith. When you spend time with people who share your belief that life is fundamentally good and challenges are opportunities for growth, their faith reinforces your own. Conversely, spending too much time with people who see life as a series of problems to endure can weaken your faith over time. This doesn't mean avoiding all people going through difficult times.
It means choosing to spend the majority of your time with people whose overall worldview supports your faith rather than undermines it. You can still offer support and compassion to others without absorbing their limiting beliefs about what's possible. Reading books, listening to podcasts, consuming content that reinforces your faith is important too. When you regularly expose yourself to stories of people who overcame seemingly impossible challenges, who created extraordinary success from humble beginnings, who found meaning and growth in their darkest moments, you strengthen your own belief in positive possibilities. Your faith is also built through small daily acts of trust. Each time you choose to believe in a positive outcome rather than worrying about a negative one, you're exercising your faith muscle. Each time you act as if good things are coming rather than preparing for the worst, you're demonstrating trust in the process. These small acts compound over time into unshakable conviction. The ultimate test of your faith comes during what might be called the dark night of the soul. Those periods when everything seems to be falling apart and you can't see any reason for optimism. These are the moments that either break people or forge them into something stronger. When you can maintain your faith during these times, not through denial or false positivity, but through deep trust in the ultimate goodness of life, your faith becomes truly unshakable. The paradox of faith is that the more you use it, the stronger it becomes. And the stronger it becomes, the less you need to use it consciously. Eventually, trusting that everything works out becomes your default setting, rather than something you have to remind yourself to believe. This creates a life of ease and flow that seems almost magical to others, but feels perfectly natural to you. When your faith becomes unshakable, you discover you're not really acting as if everything works out. You're simply recognizing and aligning with a fundamental truth about the nature of reality. Life is always conspiring in your favor, even when appearances suggest otherwise. Your faith doesn't create this truth. It simply allows you to experience it consistently. Chapter 11. Mastering Detached. Involvement. One of the most sophisticated aspects of acting as if everything works out is learning to be fully engaged in creating desired outcomes while remaining emotionally detached from whether they manifest exactly as you envision. This paradoxical state of detached involvement allows you to put forth maximum effort while maintaining inner peace. To care deeply about your goals while not being devastated if they unfold differently than planned. Most people operate from one of two extremes. Either they're so attached to specific outcomes they become anxious, controlling, resistant to any deviation from their plans. Or they're so detached they become passive, unmotivated, unwilling to put forth effort required for success. But mastery lies in the middle path, where you can be simultaneously passionate and peaceful, committed and flexible, determined and trusting. This state of detached involvement is what allows the most successful people to maintain sanity and effectiveness even under enormous pressure. They care deeply about their work and goals, but they don't derive self-worth from specific results. They put forth extraordinary effort,
but they don't become desperate or frantic when things don't go according to plan. They remain open to outcomes that might be even better than what they originally envisioned. The key is understanding your job is to plant seeds, water them consistently, create the best possible conditions for growth, but you cannot control the exact timing, size, or color of the flowers that bloom. Your role is to do your part with complete dedication, while trusting the universe will do its part in ways that serve your highest good. This doesn't mean becoming indifferent to outcomes or lowering your standards. It means holding your vision with passionate commitment while remaining flexible about how that vision manifests. It means working as hard as someone who believes everything depends on their effort, while trusting as deeply as someone who believes everything is taken care of by forces beyond their control. Let me tell you about Layla, a filmmaker who spent 2 years making her first feature film. She poured everything into it, her savings, her time, her heart. When it was done, she submitted it to major film festivals and got rejected. By all of them. Her old self would have been crushed, would have taken it as evidence she wasn't talented enough, would have maybe given up on filmmaking entirely. But Layla had been practicing detached involvement. She was deeply invested in her work, but not attached to one specific path to success. So instead of spiraling, she got curious. She started showing the film at small local screenings, built a grassroots audience, created buzz on social media. A streaming platform noticed, offered her a deal. The film found its audience, led to more opportunities. 3 years later, she's making her third film with a real budget and creative freedom. The failure at traditional festivals didn't mean the film was bad. It meant there was a better path she couldn't have planned. The practice of detached involvement begins with clarifying your true desires versus your ego's demands. Your true desires are usually simple and aligned with your authentic self. To feel fulfilled, to contribute meaningfully, to experience love and connection, to grow and expand your capabilities. Your ego's demands are often complex and based on external validation. To be recognized as the best, to prove your worth to specific people, to achieve particular status symbols. When you're aligned with your true desires, detachment becomes easier because you're open to multiple ways these desires can be fulfilled. But when you're driven by ego demands, detachment feels threatening because you've convinced yourself only one specific outcome can provide what you need. Detached involvement also requires developing beginner's mind, approaching each situation with fresh eyes rather than rigid expectations based on past experiences. When you assume you know exactly how things should unfold, you become attached to that prediction. But when you remain curious about how things might unfold, you stay open to possibilities you hadn't considered. This openness is crucial because the universe often has solutions far more elegant and effective than what your limited perspective can imagine. The business opportunity better than the job you didn't get. The romantic partner more compatible than the one who rejected you. The creative project that emerges from the failure of your original plan. One of the most practical applications of detached involvement is in daily decision-making.
Instead of agonizing over every choice because you're attached to making the right decision, you make the best decision you can with current information while remaining open to course corrections as new information emerges. This approach reduces anxiety and increases agility. Detached involvement also transforms how you handle criticism
and praise. When you're attached to specific outcomes, criticism feels like a threat to your goals, and praise feels like validation of your worth. But when you're practicing detached involvement, both criticism and praise become simply information that can help you improve your approach without defining your value as a person. This emotional equilibrium is particularly powerful in leadership roles. Leaders who practice detached involvement can make difficult decisions without being paralyzed by the need to please everyone. They can take calculated risks without being devastated if those risks don't pay off. They can inspire others with their vision while adapting that vision based on feedback and changing circumstances. The financial implications are significant too. When you're attached to money as a measure of your worth or security, you make financial decisions from fear rather than wisdom. You might stay in unfulfilling jobs because you're afraid of financial instability, or conversely, make reckless investments because you're desperate for quick returns. But when you practice detached involvement with money, you can make strategic financial decisions while trusting your needs will be met, regardless of specific outcomes. In relationships, detached involvement allows you to love deeply without becoming possessive or controlling. You can care about someone's well-being without trying to manage their choices. You can desire specific outcomes for your relationships while accepting others have their own path to follow. This creates space for authentic connection rather than codependency. The spiritual dimension of detached involvement is perhaps its most profound aspect. When you truly master this principle, you begin sensing there's an intelligence far greater than your individual consciousness orchestrating events in ways that serve everyone's highest good. This recognition allows you to relax your need to control outcomes while increasing your commitment, playing your part with excellence. This doesn't require belief in any particular religious or spiritual system. It simply requires recognizing there are forces at work beyond your conscious awareness. Market forces, social dynamics, natural cycles, technological evolution, and that your individual efforts are most effective when aligned with these larger currents, rather than fighting against them. The practice of detached involvement ultimately leads to what many traditions call effortless effort, a state where you're working at full capacity but without strain, where you're completely focused but not tense, where you're pursuing ambitious goals but not anxious about results. This is the state where peak performance feels natural rather than forced. When you master detached involvement, you discover you can have intense preferences without painful attachments, passionate goals without desperate neediness, unwavering commitment without rigid expectations. You become someone who can navigate any challenge with grace while remaining open to miracles you never could have planned. Chapter 12. Creating Reality Through Perfect Alignment. Acting as if everything works out is not just a mental exercise or emotional practice. It's a comprehensive way of being that must be embodied consistently across all areas of your life.
True mastery comes when your thoughts, emotions, words, and actions are all aligned with the belief that life is working in your favor. This alignment between your inner state and outer expression is what actually creates the reality you experience. Most people live in a state of internal contradiction. They might think positive thoughts while feeling anxious emotions. They might speak confidently while taking actions based on fear. They might believe in abundance while behaving from scarcity. These contradictions create mixed signals that generate mixed results. But when all aspects of your being are aligned with the same empowering belief, you become a powerful creative force. This alignment begins with your thought patterns. Every thought you think is either reinforcing your belief that things work out or undermining it. When you catch your mind wandering into worry, doubt, or catastrophic thinking, you have an opportunity to consciously redirect it toward thoughts that support your desired reality. This isn't about forcing fake positivity. It's about choosing thoughts that empower rather than disempower you. Your emotional state must also align with your belief. Emotions are energy in motion, and the emotions you maintain most consistently become the creative force behind your experiences. When you genuinely feel grateful, excited, expectant about your future, you're generating emotional energy that attracts positive experiences. When you feel worried, angry, or hopeless, you're generating emotional energy that attracts more experiences to worry about. The key is learning to manage your emotional state consciously rather than allowing it to be determined by external circumstances. This doesn't mean suppressing negative emotions when they arise naturally. It means not dwelling in them unnecessarily and actively cultivating positive emotions through practices like gratitude, appreciation, and celebration of small wins. Your words carry tremendous creative power. Every time you speak, you're either reinforcing your belief that everything works out or contradicting it. When you complain constantly, gossip about others' problems, or speak about your own challenges as if they're permanent and insurmountable, you're using the power of speech to create more of what you don't want. But when you speak with confidence about your goals, express gratitude for your blessings, discuss challenges as temporary situations teaching you valuable lessons, you're using words to create the reality you desire. This doesn't mean denying problems or pretending everything is perfect. It means speaking about your life in ways that support positive outcomes rather than negative ones. Your actions are perhaps the most important aspect of alignment because they represent your true beliefs, regardless of what you say you believe. You might claim to believe everything works out, but if your actions are driven by fear, scarcity, or desperation, then fear, scarcity, and desperation are your actual operating beliefs. True alignment means taking actions that demonstrate your faith in positive outcomes. This might mean investing in your growth even when money is tight, because you believe in your future earning potential. It might mean ending relationships that don't serve you, because you believe better connections are possible. It might mean pursuing opportunities that stretch you, because you believe in your ability to rise to occasions. Let me tell you about Carlos, who wanted to start a business but was terrified of failure.
He read every business book, took every course, made elaborate plans, but he kept finding reasons to delay actually starting. His actions were completely misaligned with his stated belief that he could succeed. Then something shifted. He realized his actions were revealing his true beliefs, and those beliefs were based on fear, not faith. So he started taking actions that demonstrated faith. He invested in a website before he felt ready. He reached out to potential clients before his offering was perfect. He told people about his business before he was sure it would work. These faith-based actions felt terrifying at first, but they created momentum. They attracted opportunities. They built his actual belief, not just his stated belief, that things would work out. Within 6 months, he had a viable business. Within a year, he'd replaced his corporate income. Your physical environment also needs to align with your belief. The spaces you inhabit either support your positive mindset or undermine it. A cluttered, chaotic environment tends to create cluttered, chaotic thinking. A beautiful, organized environment tends to support clear, positive thinking. This doesn't mean you need to live in luxury. It means creating spaces that reflect the abundance and positivity you want to experience. The media you consume, the conversations you engage in, the activities you participate in, all need to align with your belief system. If you're constantly exposing yourself to negative news, toxic social media, or people who drain your energy, you're working against your own alignment. Choose inputs that support your positive worldview while staying reasonably informed about important developments. Your daily routines and habits are where alignment is most powerfully expressed. The way you start your morning sets the tone for your entire day. If you begin with gratitude, positive intentions, and activities that energize you, you're aligning your day with success. If you begin by checking negative news, rushing through preparation, or immediately diving into stressful tasks, you're creating misalignment from the very start. The goals you set and pursue must also align with your belief that everything works out. Goals that come from fear, social pressure, or ego validation create internal conflict even when achieved. But goals that emerge from your authentic desires and align with your values create a sense of excitement and anticipation that supports your positive expectations. Your financial behaviors are a particularly important area of alignment. How you earn, spend, save, and invest money reveals your true beliefs about abundance and scarcity. When your financial behaviors align with abundance thinking, being generous, investing in growth, making purchases that reflect self-respect, you reinforce your belief that there's always enough. Perhaps most importantly, your relationship with yourself must align with your belief that everything works out. This means treating yourself with kindness, patience, and respect. It means celebrating your successes and learning from your mistakes without harsh self-judgment. It means trusting your instincts and honoring your needs while maintaining appropriate relationships with others. The process of achieving consistent alignment is ongoing because life constantly presents new situations that test your commitment to this way of being.
Each challenge is an opportunity to choose alignment over contradiction, empowerment over disempowerment, faith over fear. When you achieve true alignment, you experience what many call flow states on a regular basis. Work feels effortless. Relationships feel harmonious. Opportunities appear regularly. This isn't because life has become problem-free. It's because you're approaching every situation from a place of inner coherence and positive expectation. The cumulative effect of consistent alignment is you become a person who naturally attracts success, happiness, and fulfillment. Not through manipulation or strategy, but through the simple power of being internally consistent with empowering beliefs. Your outer world begins mirroring your inner alignment, and acting as if everything works out becomes simply an accurate description of your lived experience. Chapter 13. The compound effect of daily choices. Small, consistent choices made from the belief that everything works out create compound effects that transform your entire life over time. Just as money invested wisely grows exponentially through compound interest, positive expectations invested consistently in your daily thoughts, decisions, and actions create exponential improvements in every area of your experience. The compound effect operates below the threshold of immediate visibility, which is why most people don't recognize its power until results become undeniable. Each individual choice to trust rather than worry, to focus on solutions rather than problems, to expect good outcomes rather than bad ones, seems insignificant in the moment. But these choices accumulate over time, creating momentum that eventually becomes unstoppable. Consider how this works in your career. Every time you approach a project with the expectation you'll find creative solutions and produce excellent results, you bring different energy to your work. You're more likely to persist when challenges arise, more likely to notice opportunities for innovation, more likely to collaborate effectively with others. These subtle differences in approach compound over months and years into a reputation for excellence and reliability. This reputation then opens doors that would have remained closed to someone approaching work from anxiety and doubt. Better projects, stronger relationships, increased responsibility, greater rewards, all flowing naturally from the accumulated effect of consistently positive expectations about your professional contributions. The same principle applies to your health. Each time you make food choices, exercise decisions, or stress management practices from the belief your body is capable of vibrant health and longevity, you're making deposits in your health account. Individual healthy choices might seem to have minimal impact, but over time they compound into energy, levels, appearance, and physical capabilities that seem remarkable to others. Your financial situation is perhaps the most obvious area where the compound effect of positive expectation creates dramatic results. When you consistently make financial decisions from abundance rather than scarcity, from confidence rather than fear, you create upward momentum that eventually becomes self-sustaining. You invest in your skills, take calculated risks, pursue opportunities because you expect them to pay off.
These expectations influence not just what you choose to pursue, but how you pursue it. You negotiate more confidently, network more authentically, persist longer because you believe in eventual success. This different approach to financial opportunities compounds over time into wealth that exceeds what pure salary or investment returns could have created alone. Your relationships also benefit from the compound effect of positive expectations. Every interaction where you assume good intentions, look for the best in others, and expect positive outcomes creates small deposits of goodwill and connection. Over time, these deposits compound into deep, meaningful relationships that provide support, joy, and opportunities throughout your life. People are naturally drawn to those who see their potential and expect their success. When you consistently interact with others from this positive expectation, you become someone others want to be around, work with, and support. Your network expands naturally. The quality of your relationships deepens beyond what forced networking or relationship building could achieve. The compound effect is particularly powerful in personal development. Each time you choose growth over comfort, learning over certainty, expansion over contraction, you build upon previous choices. Skills develop. Confidence grows. Capabilities expand in ways that create exponential rather than linear progress. This is why people who truly embody the principle that everything works out often seem to experience sudden breakthroughs or overnight successes that are actually the result of years of compound growth. The actor who becomes an overnight sensation has been making positive choices about their craft for years. The entrepreneur who suddenly explodes onto the scene has been building skills and relationships for decades. Let me tell you about Nina, who started a daily gratitude practice 5 years ago. Just 5 minutes each morning, writing down 3 things she was grateful for. Seemed insignificant at first, but over time, this practice rewired her brain to scan for positive things rather than negative, which changed her mood, which changed her energy, which changed how people responded to her, which created more opportunities, which reinforced her positive outlook, which attracted even better experiences. 5 years later, her entire life is unrecognizable. Better career, better relationships, better health, better financial situation. Not because of one big change, because of 5 minutes every morning for 5 years. That's the compound effect. The compound effect also works in reverse, which is why it's crucial to be conscious about the expectations you maintain. Negative expectations compound just as powerfully as positive ones. Every choice made from fear, doubt, or pessimism creates momentum in the direction of more experiences to feel fearful, doubtful, or pessimistic about. This is not about blame or judgment for past negative patterns. It's about recognizing the power you have to change direction at any moment. The compound effect of positive expectations can begin immediately, regardless of how long you've been operating from negative ones. Each positive choice you make creates a new trajectory that will compound over time. The key to leveraging the compound effect is patience combined with consistency.
You must be willing to make positive choices even when you can't see immediate results. Trusting these choices are creating momentum that will eventually become visible. This requires faith in the process rather than attachment to quick results. It's also important to celebrate small wins along the way. Each time you notice evidence that your positive expectations are creating positive outcomes, you reinforce the behavior and maintain motivation for continued positive choices. These celebrations create positive feedback loops that accelerate the compound effect. The compound effect of positive expectations eventually reaches a tipping point where positive outcomes become your normal experience rather than occasional pleasant surprises. Opportunities appear regularly. Relationships are consistently fulfilling. Challenges resolve more quickly. What others call luck becomes your standard operating procedure. At this advanced level, acting as if everything works out is no longer an effort or practice. It's simply an accurate description of your lived reality. The compound effect of years of positive expectations has created a life where things genuinely do work out, usually better than you originally hoped or planned. This transformation doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen inevitably for those who consistently maintain positive expectations over time. Every moment offers you the choice to make a deposit in your compound effect account. The question is whether you'll choose expectations that compound toward the life you want or away from it. Chapter 14. Living in the Flow of Miracles. When you truly master the art of acting as if everything works out, you enter what can only be described as the flow of miracles. This is a state of being where synchronicities become common, where opportunities appear just when you need them, where solutions to problems emerge from unexpected sources, and where life begins feeling like a beautiful dance rather than a difficult struggle. Living in the flow of miracles doesn't mean challenges disappear or life becomes effortlessly perfect. It means you've aligned yourself so completely with positive expectation that you naturally attract experiences, people, and opportunities that support your highest good. What others call coincidences become your normal way of navigating the world. This flow state emerges when your inner certainty about positive outcomes becomes so strong and consistent that it creates what researchers call coherence between your heart and mind, between your thoughts and emotions, between your beliefs and actions. This coherence generates a powerful energetic field that influences your environment in ways that seem magical, but are actually the natural result of perfect alignment. The first sign you're entering this flow is an increase in meaningful coincidences. You think about someone and they call. You need specific information and you overhear a conversation that provides exactly what you need. You're looking for a solution and you randomly encounter someone who has the perfect answer. These experiences begin happening so frequently you start expecting them rather than being surprised by them. Another indication is the appearance of what might be called impossible opportunities. Doors open that should have remained closed. People offer help without being asked. Resources become available just when you need them. Obstacles that seemed insurmountable suddenly resolve themselves.
These aren't violations of natural law. They're the natural result of being perfectly aligned with the forces that govern success and abundance. Your decision-making process also transforms in this flow. Instead of agonizing over choices, you find the right path becomes obvious. You develop what some call intuitive intelligence, the ability to know what to do without knowing how you know. You make decisions quickly and confidently, and they consistently turn out to be correct. This enhanced intuition comes from the deep trust you've developed in the process of life itself. When you truly believe everything works out, you stop trying to control every variable and start trusting your inner guidance. This trust allows you to access information and insights that aren't available to the analytical mind alone. People begin responding to you differently in this flow. They sense something unique about your energy and presence. They feel calm and optimistic around you. They want to help you succeed. They offer opportunities and resources without being asked. This isn't manipulation. It's the natural human response to someone who embodies genuine confidence and positive expectation. Your creative abilities also expand dramatically in this state. Solutions to problems appear effortlessly. New ideas flow constantly. You see connections and possibilities others miss. This enhanced creativity comes from the relaxed, open state of mind that results from trusting everything's working out perfectly. The flow of miracles also affects your physical health and vitality. When your nervous system isn't constantly activated by fear and stress, your body's natural healing mechanisms function optimally. You have more energy, sleep better, recover more quickly from illness or injury. Your physical appearance often improves as the stress and tension that age the body are replaced by relaxation and joy. Your relationship with money transforms in remarkable ways when you're in this flow. Financial abundance begins feeling natural rather than elusive. Money comes from unexpected sources. Expenses decrease just when income increases. Investment opportunities appear at exactly the right time. You develop what some call prosperity consciousness, the deep knowing that there's always enough for what you truly need. Perhaps most significantly, your capacity for love and compassion expands when you're living in this flow. When you're not constantly worried about your own problems, you have more bandwidth to care about others. You become naturally generous with your time, attention, and resources. This generosity creates positive feedback loops that bring even more abundance into your life. The flow of miracles is sustained by gratitude. The more you appreciate the synchronicities and opportunities that appear, the more of them you attract. This creates an upward spiral where increased gratitude leads to more positive experiences, which leads to even greater gratitude. It's important to understand this state isn't reserved for special people or achieved through complicated practices. It's the natural result of consistently acting as if everything works out, until this becomes your genuine, embodied truth. Anyone can access this flow by maintaining positive expectations consistently enough for them to become automatic. The challenge is staying in this flow when external circumstances seem to suggest you should return to worry or doubt. This requires what might be called advanced faith, the ability to maintain your positive expectations even when temporary evidence suggests they might be misplaced. When you're truly living in the flow of miracles, you realize you are never really acting as if everything works out. You are simply recognizing and aligning with a fundamental truth about the nature of reality. The universe is inherently benevolent, constantly seeking to support life, growth, and expansion. When you align yourself with this truth, miracles aren't extraordinary occurrences. They're your ordinary experience. Chapter 15. When acting becomes being. There comes a moment in the journey of acting as if everything works out, when you realize you're no longer acting. The belief has become so integrated into every aspect of your being that it's simply who you are. You no longer have to remind yourself to trust that things will work out, because this trust has become your natural default setting. You've transformed from someone who practices positive expectation to someone who embodies it. This transformation marks the completion of what might be called your reality upgrade. You're now living in a version of reality where good things happening to you feels normal, where challenges are met with curiosity rather than anxiety, where opportunities appear regularly, where life consistently exceeds your expectations. What once required conscious effort now happens automatically. The shift from acting to being is usually gradual and may not be immediately obvious. You might first notice you've stopped worrying about certain things that used to consume your thoughts. You realize you're making decisions more quickly and confidently. You observe you're more at peace with uncertainty. You discover you expect good news rather than bad news, positive outcomes rather than negative ones. People around you begin noticing this transformation as well. They comment on your calm confidence, your positive energy, your ability to remain centered during challenging times. They start coming to you for advice and support because they sense your inner stability and wisdom. You become someone others look to as an example of how to navigate life successfully. Your problem-solving abilities have evolved dramatically. Where others see obstacles, you naturally see opportunities. Where others get stuck in analysis paralysis, you quickly identify solutions and take action. Where others become overwhelmed by complexity, you find simple, elegant approaches. This isn't because you've learned specific techniques. It's because your entire mental operating system has been upgraded. The quality of your relationships has transformed as well. You attract people who resonate with your positive energy and naturally drift away from those who drain your resources or energy. Your connections are deeper, more authentic, more mutually supportive. You give and receive love more freely because you're no longer operating from fear of loss or scarcity of affection. Your professional life has likely evolved in ways you couldn't have predicted when you first began this journey. You might be in a completely different career or doing the same work but with dramatically different results. Either way, your work feels more aligned with your authentic self, more fulfilling, more prosperous. The financial abundance you're experiencing goes beyond just having more money.
You've developed a healthy, empowered relationship with money where you see it as energy that flows naturally through your life. You're generous without being reckless, abundant without being wasteful, prosperous without being greedy. Money serves your values rather than controlling them. Your physical health has likely improved as well. The chronic stress that accompanies constant worry and doubt has been replaced by the vitality that comes from inner peace and positive anticipation. Your body functions more optimally because your nervous system spends more time in states of rest and repair rather than fight or flight. Perhaps most remarkably, your capacity for joy and appreciation has expanded exponentially. You find genuine pleasure in simple moments you might have overlooked before. You feel grateful not just for major blessings, but for small, daily gifts. You experience what researchers call eudaimonic well-being, a deep sense of meaning and fulfillment that comes from living in alignment with your highest potential. The synchronicities and coincidences that once amazed you have become so common you expect them. You routinely find yourself in the right place at the right time. You regularly meet exactly the people you need to meet. You consistently receive information, opportunities, and resources precisely when you need them. This isn't luck. It's the natural result of being in perfect harmony with the flow of life. Your relationship with challenges has been completely transformed. You no longer fear problems because you've experienced repeatedly that they always contain gifts. You approach difficulties with curiosity rather than resistance, because you trust they're redirecting you towards something better or teaching you something valuable. What others call crisis, you recognize as transitions. You've also developed what might be called prophetic sight, the ability to see potential positive outcomes others miss. When faced with uncertain situations, you naturally envision successful resolutions. When others see endings, you see new beginnings. When others see limitations, you see possibilities. This isn't naive optimism. It's trained perception based on consistent experience. Your influence on others has expanded naturally as well. Without trying to convince anyone of anything, you inspire others simply by being who you are. Your example demonstrates it's possible to live with confidence, joy, and abundance regardless of external circumstances. You become a lighthouse, showing others there's another way to navigate life. The peace you experience is perhaps the most profound aspect of this transformation. It's not the absence of activity or challenge, but the presence of deep trust. You rest in the knowing that no matter what happens, you have everything you need to not just survive, but thrive. This peace passes understanding because it's not based on external conditions, but on internal alignment. As you reflect on your journey from acting as if everything works out to genuinely knowing that it does, you realize you haven't actually changed the external world. You've changed your relationship with it. The same challenges exist, the same uncertainties persist, but you now have a completely different operating system for navigating them. This new reality you're living in,
was always available to you. The difference is you now have the eyes to see it, the heart to feel it, the wisdom to trust it. You've discovered that acting as if everything works out isn't a technique or strategy. It's a way of aligning with the fundamental goodness and intelligence of life itself. Your story has become living proof that transformation is possible, that people can change their reality by changing their relationship with it, and that what seems like magic is actually the natural result of perfect alignment with the forces that govern success, happiness, and fulfillment. You are now someone who doesn't just believe that everything always works out. You know it, you live it, and you embody it for the benefit of all who encounter your presence. This is who you were always meant to become.